Meet Serena, your virtual companion for emotional support. The ultimate safe space to discuss your thoughts, your fears, and the ups and downs of daily life. Start your free trial today at serena.chat.
I, 23F, and my husband, 23M, are unsure if we should get a divorce? Any advice appreciated. Throwaway account due to friends, family following main account. Omitting some personal information for sake of anonymity. I'm going to try and make a timeline of events in our relationship for context. Too long did not read. At bottom. Met when we were 9. Started dating at 12. Mind you, this was that middle school type of dating. He cheated on me when we were 15 or 16. At this point we were on again, off again, which continued until we were 17. I got a full ride to a university across the country for athletics, academics when I was 18. My first and only semester there, I hated the team and the coaches, and I had no friends. He flew out to visit me and we got engaged at 18 years old. He flew back a little over a month later and we had a courthouse wedding. I came home after the semester finished. He was 18 and I was 19 when he joined a very difficult, prestigious branch of the military. He left for 3 months for training, which was difficult, but we did fine. He came back for a few weeks and then left for a few more months for school for his particular job. During this time, I would later find out, he signed himself up on Bumble, and paid $50+ in upgrades for more swipes. He insists he never met anyone from it and no conversations that he had were ever anything more than introductions. He also, again, I would later find out a few years later, spent over $600 at a strip club. He says he was pressured by seniors to go and ended up paying for a VIP room for one of his buddies because he got the room and then didn't have the money to pay for it, and my husband said his friend was going to get into trouble. That weekend, he would go up and down the coast going to various clubs and another strip club from what I've gathered. At 19, we moved states and got our first house together. At 20, he deployed. This would be a very difficult time in our lives, and even more difficult after he got home. He developed a pornography addiction while deployed. I remember sitting on the bathroom floor at 4 in the morning refreshing one of his social media accounts, which I could see his following numbers go up about every 5 minutes. All porn accounts. He pressured me for pictures and videos, and I would feel guilty for not doing the things he wanted, and I felt like if I didn't he was just going to find someone else to do it for him. He came home 6 months later and we were okay. Except I noticed after a few weeks that as soon as he came home from work he would practically beeline it to the bathroom and shower for 45+ minutes. Sometimes I would even go into the bathroom after and I could tell he dropped the bottle of lube on the ground and it was still slippery. Or I could see the ring on the counter from the bottom of the bottle. I did my best to ignore it, until one day I saw a charge on our account for $30 to someone with a very interesting name. I confronted him and he immediately looked away, took in a deep breath, brushed his hand through his hair and sputtered out a quick excuse that it was his buddy's wife who bought them all lunch during work. I don't know why, but I said okay and left it at that. He got up a few minutes later saying he felt sick and went to lay down. I got a text from him an hour later saying he was sorry and that he developed a pornography addiction over deployment and he sent money to a girl for her premium Snapchat or something. He says he felt so guilty he didn't even look at anything and he deleted her right after he sent the money. I realized that the day this transaction took place, he had bought me flowers. He has never done that before, not even on any special occasions. From here on, the dates get confusing for me. I don't remember what happened first or when or how far apart, but I'll do my best to include as much information as I remember. Sometime later, maybe weeks, maybe months, I woke up to a message from an old acquaintance on a certain social media. I think we were still 20 or maybe 21. I don't remember what exactly she said, something along the lines of, "I just wanted you to know 4x said this to me," or something like that. He had messaged her the night prior, whilst drinking at a friend's house down the road, that he loved and missed her. I wish so badly I could remember more, but for some reason I can't. I know she said something like, "You can't be saying this, you're married," and he said something along the lines of, "I don't care." I screamed at him to wake up, but he was still drunk. I told him I wanted a divorce. I locked myself in the bathroom and hurt myself because I wanted to feel anything other than how I felt at that moment. I don't know how much time passed. When he opened the door, he said he didn't send those messages. He said that he left his phone plugged into the speaker and his friend was using it to play music. He said his friend must have seen the girl's story and messaged her trying to get nudes. He even pulled out his phone with proof, a text conversation between him and his friend confirming that the friend had messaged her and said he was sorry. I don't know why, but I believed him immediately. I remember having the most euphoric feeling of, I don't know what the word is, but whatever you feel when you let out a breath you've been holding and say, oh thank God. I'm getting frustrated writing this because I'm realizing how much I'm forgetting and I feel like I'm missing something. At 21 I think, shit hit the fan. I think at this point I had gone through his phone several times and found internet history and links that he had clicked through one of his social media accounts to hundreds of different OnlyFNS sites. One night I went through his entire dollar account history since 2018 and found the charge for the strip club and Bumble. He said the Bumble charge wasn't him, it was a senior who used his card because his had gotten frozen or something ridiculous like that. I of course, believed him. I don't know why. I can't remember at what point I found out that he lied about messaging the girl on social media. I think it was after I had looked through his phone again and I found text messages between him and his friend that was the one who allegedly sent the messages. His friend said something like, bro, I can't even go to parties that your wife is at because she hates me lol, or something like that. But they both confirmed what I didn't want to believe. My husband had taken my phone, deleted the messages sent to me by the girl, and got his friend in on this elaborate story. I can't remember when I found out that he did in fact download and pay for upgrades on Bumble. I think I just knew at this point he was lying, and grilled him long enough that he relented. He said he never met anyone or anything, and he said during the conversation, I only paid for the upgrade because no one would ever swipe for me. Or something like that. I can't remember at what point we went to Legal on Base and got information to file for divorce. I'd never seen him cry before besides one other time. After we got married, at the airport, he cried so hard and he wouldn't let me see. Just hugged me and buried my face in his chest so I wouldn't see. He said he didn't want to leave. But he cried constantly after I told him this was it and that I had an appointment and paperwork filled out to file for divorce. I'd never seen him like this before. Constantly saying he was sorry. Deleting every social media account he'd ever owned. Crying at the drop of a pin. Saying things like he will never marry again. I could have everything in our savings. He'd pay for me to finish college if that's what I wanted. I relented and we went to marriage counseling. He stepped up, a lot. He was never on his phone anymore. Would keep his phone unlocked and face up on the table. Told me I could go through it anytime I asked. Promised to stop watching porn. He even started cleaning the house and making dinner before I got home from work. He stopped drinking with his friends. It was a complete 180. For a while. The issues started to arise when every little thing would trigger a panic attack. He couldn't hang out with his friends without me freaking out. He began drinking with his friends again maybe a few weeks later. One night he wasn't home by the time he told me he would be and I just broke. I ended up in the hospital and it was just the start of this toxic cycle. He would do something that would trigger me, whether it be drinking with his friends or the occasional YouTube short I would see in his watch history of a half-naked woman with her tits out and bouncing up and down. I would scream at him and berate him and degrade him because I wanted him to feel exactly how I felt. I think marriage counseling eventually helped a lot. After the hospital I finally got my own therapist. She was my best friend. I still text her to this day. I didn't have any friends where we lived. He worked with his friends every day and every weekend they would all party. I didn't have anyone. My friends and family were back home. I'm shy and have really bad social anxiety and have always had trouble making friends because I can't seem to ever open my mouth when there's more than 3 people in the room. Whenever he would leave to go anywhere, I felt so alone. I think at 22 our marriage really started improving again. We went on vacation together and were able to work through a lot of issues and we were able to communicate things we were feeling and it was amazing. We both felt so heard and we were able to find happy mediums on issues and relayed boundaries that each of us respected. I was 23 when I moved home a few months before his contract ended. He tied up his loose ends on the house and work and he moved back home with me. He tried working a night shift blue-collar job, making good money, even more than he made in the military. But he hated it. He hated everything about it. He missed his friends and his job. His friends were his family. This was the first time I'd ever seen him truly depressed. 5 months later he joined a different branch of the military. I didn't want him to. I wanted him to stay and have a normal life with me. I wanted to work normal jobs and have a family. He doesn't. He said he doesn't even want a family. I had started nursing school and my best friend whom I hardly ever got to see had a baby. I finally had a group of friends and family I was able to hang out with every week. He left and got stationed in a different state, but only about 600 miles away this time. Far, but drivable. He came home for a visit after only a week of being there. We were doing good at this point. Texting and calling a lot. A little over a month ago he left to go across the country for a 6-week exercise in the desert. He didn't have his phone for most of it, but he was able to text me once over a week ago. He didn't text again after that, until I messaged him letting him know that a pet of mine had died. He replied immediately. I've realized that he has had his phone, but just hasn't been talking to me. Yesterday, he texted me in the morning letting me know that he was going to spend an upcoming holiday with an old military friend from his previous branch, and then the holiday after that he wanted to go see his extended family in a different state. We've talked a lot since then, not about anything good. I've asked why he's pushing me away and he said he's focusing on his goals. I said I felt like I was being put on the back burner until he was ready to acknowledge me and our marriage, and I tried to tell him he didn't have to be alone and that I would support him. He said, "You can't though. You say you can, but you didn't support college or the CIA, so I kinda felt I should just do this alone and get rid of some of the negativity." And I realized he was right. He brought up college when we were about 21, maybe 22, and I actually scoffed at him because I didn't realize he was being serious. I didn't believe he could do something like that. He barely graduated high school. He went to 4 different high schools total, never getting above a 1.5 GPA. I tried doing his homework to keep him afloat, but he didn't care. I even got him enrolled in the same online academy that I attended, due to public school not fitting around my athletic schedule. And I had to do every class and every assignment for him because he would never do them. He ended up graduating from what you would call an alternative high school. After telling me he wanted to go to college, he then told me he was going to join the CIA. This was just unfathomable to me. I didn't know what to do because he wanted my support, but I also didn't want to lie to him and tell him I believed in him. I guess I still don't. And I feel awful, and I can't imagine the feeling of your spouse not supporting you unconditionally. I don't know how to support him in something I just don't think he can do. And now we're here. Neither of us want a divorce. Both of us know our relationship hasn't been the best. We both don't know what to do. I would feel so lost and empty without him. I've known him for more than half of my life. Our personalities are formed around each other. We talk the same, we have the same mannerisms. We experienced growing up together and becoming adults together. I just want to add that these experiences I've listed were the worst times. We've had amazing experiences together. We have so much fucking fun together. He makes me laugh more than anyone else can. He knows everything about me and has been there for every important moment in my life. I'm absolutely terrified of the future. I'm scared to tell my family if we get a divorce. I don't want to be another statistic. I know we got married young, I know we are a military family, I know that. I know that most of these marriages ended in divorce, but I really fucking thought we were different. I don't want to start over. I'm almost 24 and I know that's still considered young, but I've known him for 14 years. I thought we would have started thinking about having a family together by now. He just wants to focus on his career and says he doesn't think he even wants a family. I don't know what to do anymore. If you're still here, thanks for reading. I apologize if I'm all over the place. I haven't ever shared all this with anyone. I'm embarrassed of my situation and feel at a loss at what to do anymore. I'm really nervous to read any replies because I think I know what they're all going to say. Too long did not read. Married young, he's in the military, history of infidelity on his part, verbal abuse on my part and lack of support. Have had successful marriage counseling in the past, but we're at the point where we feel like we want different things, but both of us still love each other and don't want a divorce. Neither of us know what to do. He's been a serial cheater for many years. Are you okay with that being part of your marriage indefinitely? Are you okay with potentially having kids thinking that's what a marriage should be like? Jesus fucking Christ, dude. All this at 23. Didn't even make it a third of the way. Divorce. It's like the poster child for not getting married as a teen. Don't drag this out, you're still young. Are you red flag colorblind? Divorce him ASAP. He's holding you down from reaching your full potential, and he's been doing it for more than a decade. He's cheated on you. He's lied about money. He's shown that his friends are more important than you. You've got your entire life in front of you. You don't need to waste it on a guy who puts himself and his friends before you. My 25M wife, 25F, cheated on me with my brother, 26M, and I don't know what to do. I, 25M. Am married to my once wonderful wife, 25F, for 2 years. We have known each other for 7 years and been together for 5. We had a happy marriage, but it hasn't been without its ups and downs like every other marriage. My brother, 26M, has been living in California since he got into Stanford. After he graduated, he got a job there and he's been there ever since. He was here for a week for our mom and dad's wedding anniversary, and my birthday, which fall 3 days apart. I started feeling something was wrong 2 weeks before he'd arrived. My wife had been on a work trip to LA the week before and she had told me that she met my brother. I didn't find it weird as according to her they just had lunch and had caught up on each other's lives, and then went their separate ways. When she got back, she felt strange. She was distant, and keen on arguing over the most tiniest of things, for example, me buying a different soap than what she wanted. I apologized and ever offered to go and bet her a new bar, but she refused and said that I didn't care about her in the slightest, and that I must have gone at it with 7 women in the 7 days that she was gone. She would smile and laugh while texting someone, and when I tried looking at her phone, wondering what the joke was, she'd scowl at me, calling me a freak who wanted to invade her privacy every chance I got. We were pretty pissed off at each other before the day we left to go to my parents' home. On the car ride there, we agreed to keep a show of happy cheerfulness as was expected from us by our family. We got there at around 12:30. I had to rush to the airport to pick up my brother as he landed at 1 and my parents' home was 45 minutes away from the airport. He was waiting for me at the gate. We chatted all the way home when the topic of my wife came up. He seemed suddenly a bit down, as if he was overcome with guilt. I sensed something was wrong so I asked him. He brushed me off and he remained cheerful the rest of the ride back. Week went as was planned. Me and my wife kept up the pretense of being cheerful while we argued in whispers at night. I knew at this point that she had cheated on me while she was gone as I have faced that in a relationship before. Little did I know who it was with. The day of my brother's departure arrived. He had to get to the airport an hour early, so we left at around 4:30. As we were halfway there, he did that he needed to talk to me about something. He said it was about my wife. I asked him what it was. He asked me to pull over first, which I did. He told me that during the week that she was in California, they had slept together. Aha! So she was texting her all the time. It was because of him that we were having the arguments. I almost punched him in the face. But I didn't. I needed to hear more. I think he saw the red in my eyes and he said that it was just a mistake. He planned on telling me the moment he got here but he couldn't. He loved me too much. If he loved me, he wouldn't have done this. I told him to get the fuck out of my car and find himself a cab. He was dead to me. I drove to my best friend's house. I explained everything to him and asked him if I could stay with him for the night. He said yes and I texted my mom saying as I won't be there tonight as a friend needed me. I think my brother told my wife that I know as she's been bombing my phone with texts and calls. Some of the texts read, "Where are you? Come home please, I really miss you. I need to talk to you now. Come home. I just turned off my phone and I'm writing this now. So now, I look to you, strangers of Reddit. Please tell me what do I do? Do I confront her? Do I file for divorce? Too long did not read. Wife cheats with my brother, brother feels guilty and tells me, I don't know what to do. Get your brother to admit to the cheating in text and tell your parents after you have proof. They're going to twist this, that you're abusive and she sought solace in your brother. Tell as many people before she gets the chance to twist the narrative. Do you really need strangers to tell you what to do? Okay. Divorce her. Are them. Go and see with your brother. The betrayal is too much to try and work through. Divorce and cut ties with brother. You still owe him a beating. He's supposed to have your back. Sorry for you. You divorce her and cut him off, end of story. Talk to a lawyer to get rid of the wife. Block and forget about the brother. Neither of these people deserve to be in your life. My 29F boyfriend, 30 male, told me he doesn't love me anymore. I'm 8 weeks pregnant. Background. We've been friends for 20 years, in a relationship for 3. We have a 2-year-old child together. We'll call her B. During my first pregnancy his family tried to convince him that B wasn't his, and that I was a gold digger. He lived in his mom's shed while we were together. There was no gold to dig. We almost split up because he waited until I was unable to abort to tell me he didn't think he could be with me. I begged him to stay. Yes, I know, and we worked through it and we're in a great spot as of 1 year ago. He got on meds for bipolar and was able to see what his family was doing. B has never met that side of the family as a mutual decision for her well-being. FF to now, I found out 2 weeks ago that I was pregnant. It was planned, we were excited. I have some PTSD from the first birth, pregnancy, and admittedly freaked out after it sunk in. I tried talking to him about my fears and he blew me off until I had a full-blown meltdown saying I didn't think we were ready. I couldn't go through with it, his family still treated me horribly, and that maybe we should rethink another baby. He lost it. Threatened to strangle me, called me names, drove me around for hours threatening me saying I offer him nothing and bring nothing to the table. It was terrifying. After a few days, we worked it out and made up and things were good. He apologized for the way he acted and for hurting me. Then came Wednesday night. He said he was far behind on bills and was risking everything being shut off, trucks repoed, etc. I called him to check in and ask if there's anything I can help with, make him lunches for the week or something as I usually buy him groceries, and he told me I wasn't willing to do what he needed, that I offer him nothing. I told him it was bull that he keeps telling me this as I'm the reason we have free childcare through the state and I work my own job. I can't afford his ungodly $10,000 per month in bills that he accumulated, but it's no reason to demean or disrespect me. We don't live together but we're slowly moving my stuff in. Last night he told me he can't do this anymore, that he doesn't love me, that he feels like he's doing everything alone so he'd rather do it alone, that he's tired of being controlled. I asked him to quit cigs since B and I have lung problems and he didn't smoke when we got together. I'm mystified. I can't understand how he could go from saying our relationship is great to not loving me in 2 weeks over money and my one freakout that I thought we moved past. He has straight-up meltdowns every 6 months that I've helped him through every time, but I have one over me being afraid of dying in childbirth and he's over me? His family has been petitioning against me from day one, which he mentioned, so I can only imagine this is partly on them as well. Is this real or is he being manipulated? He only does this when I'm pregnant. I'm heartbroken. You have to get out. This is abuse. You are being abused. This behavior is not normal. Threatening to strangle you needs to be the last straw, because if it isn't then he will actually get to the point of hurting you. I know you love him and want to be with him, but B needs you, and your partner is dangerous. Please seek out help and utilize your local women's shelter if need be, or consider a crisis hotline. Abortion and leave. You already have a daughter and need to think about what a fucking mess you two are making her life to be. You planned a pregnancy with a man full in debt while not even living together. Make better choices, it is really important for your child. If you document the abuse, it's doubtful he will get more than supervised visitation. This guy is emotionally, physically, and financially abusive. You deserve better than this. Your child deserves better than this. If you're in the U.S., United Way 211 can refer you to local resources. A women's shelter can help you make a safety plan and an exit plan. This shit doesn't get better, it usually escalates. Schedule an abortion and in that time leave. You are in an abusive relationship. Immediately sort out custody and see if you can get as much of it as possible, as he is not safe to be around. He is not getting 50-50. He can try, but being that explosive he will blow up at slightest pressure in any kind of hearing. My M42 wife's F40 personality changed suddenly and I am unsure what to think about. My M42 wife, F40, and me are together since 14Y and married since 7Y. We have a 7Y-old son and a rather comfortable and happy life. We own a house, have no debts and are in good health. Our relationship is stable, although we argue from time to time, like any other couple, I guess. Since the birth of our son, my wife has voluntarily chosen to stop working and invest the time into parenting. I have always supported her with her decision and naturally took over the part of earning the money and paying the bills. I love my wife, she is an incredibly caring mother, sometimes even too much. She is warm-hearted and attentive to the needs of my son and me. We know and trust each other, and we were always kind of proud of the strength of our connection, which got us through some rough patches of our relationship. But since 2 months all is different. It all started with an argument about a senseless small thing. Whenever this happens, we usually cool down 1-2 days where we talk very little. After this period, we make peace and get back to normal life. This time, however, my wife remained in the state of silence and started changing suddenly. She stopped eating and started working out a lot. She applied for a job and got it. She will start working next month. When she leaves the house, she does not say where she goes or when she will be back. Towards our son she is impatient and even a bit harsh. Needless to say, our sex life stopped completely and she is of course overly active on her smartphone all the time. When I confronted her after several days, she told me that she wants to be selfish at the moment. She understands that her radical change must be hard and strange for me, but she can't do anything about it. I asked her if she is having an affair. She said no. Since a couple of weeks we live next to each other, with very little to no signs of affection. I'm extra nice with her and every now and then I try to initiate discussions to improve the situation. But I have the impression I bother her with hat. From her side I see no remarkable effort to change anything. She is not angry or nasty, just cold. Today I found out by coincidence that she created a Bumble profile, Tinder-like platform. I don't know what's going on or what to do. Is she just having a midlife crisis and needs time to overcome this, or is it already too late and I need to accept that this is the beginning of the end? She sounds done with the marriage. Sorry to say, but even before you mentioned Bumble it definitely sounded to me like she was getting ready to leave you. It looks like she's trying to gain financial independence so she can get her ducks in a row to do it. What are the kinds of things you argue about? You say they are small or senseless, but it seems they've had an effect on her. Arguing with your partner and then not talking to them for days after is just not normal, or at least not healthy. So you normally have big arguments, get cold for a couple days, then sweep it under the rug. It's obvious you weren't ever making peace. She was letting it go. You also wildly glossed over the straw that broke the camel's back, and that was whatever that last argument was. To reference an older saying elsewhere, it's not about the Iranian yogurt. She's checked out and setting herself up to move on. You've dropped the ball one too many times and she's done with it. If she's saying she's being selfish at the moment, that probably means she's been the one responsible for it all and probably taken for granted a bit. So I'm curious, what was that last argument? What is it you are absolutely blind to? It all started with an argument about a senseless small thing. Why don't you tell us what the senseless small thing is? Sounds like it broke your marriage and isn't as small as you thought. The missing reason. Find a lawyer and get your options ASAP. She is checked out of your marriage and looking around. Be proactive, not reactive.